where's it located? Well, Khorsabad is the remains of a giant city in Iraq, which used to be part of the Assyrian Empire. So, what was the city's purpose? Well, it was built by Sargon II, who had established a capital away from his predecessors. This essentially gave him complete control over the land and the construction which he wanted. So, what are some of the key features of Khorsabad? Well, for one, since it was the capital, Sargon II's palace was there, which would have also been called Der Shuriken, or literally translated to Sargon's fortress. There were also many temples that would have been mainly dedicated to the gods Nabu, Shamesh, and Sin. The city would have been surrounded by massive walls that were built for defense, but also to contribute to the mighty sight of the city as well. Unfortunately, the city itself didn't actually have many residences or people living within it, as construction of the city was actually never completed. So, who built Khorsabad? As earlier mentioned, Sargon II established the capital in 717 BC. However, he never finished construction and the city was never truly widely inhabited. Which is unfortunate because the city itself was meant to be a monument to his reign, or something to remember his rule by. However, at Sargon's death in 705 BC, Khorsabad was mostly left behind. His son left and transferred the capital to Nineveh instead. While some records do suggest that the city remained partially occupied in the 7th century BC under the rule of a governor, it became completely abandoned when the Assyrian Empire eventually collapsed. So, just to summarize what we've gone over, Khorsabad was a city built in what is now Iraq, which used to be a part of the Assyrian Empire. The construction of the city was never finished and was mostly abandoned after Sargon II's son took the throne. While some people still lived there for a while, it was completely abandoned around 609 BC when the Assyrian Empire fell. However, the story does not end there. In 1843, the ruins of Khorsabad were rediscovered, and it was a big deal. The site was the first in Mesopotamia to go through significant excavations, and, like its construction, that had a lot of manpower dedicated to uncovering more and more of the ruins. Overall, there were 7 seasons of excavations at Khorsabad from 1928 to 1935. However, the excitement was unfortunately cut short later.
This is when ISIS attacked in 2015. ISIS is the terrorist group from the Middle East, also known as the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, though at the time of the attack, it was under the name of the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant, or ISIL. Led by Sunni Muslims, ISIS started out with a fair bit of power, outreach, and control. They emerged from a part of Al-Qaeda, or the AQI, in 2013, when Al-Qaeda was ruled by Ayman al-Zawahiri. At the time of the attack, the leader of ISIS was Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. ISIS was believed to have been defeated by the United States in 2017, but they're still active to this day. Its current leader is Abu Hafs al-Hashimi al-Qurashi since his appointment on August 3rd in 2023. As they've stated before, ISIS's goal is to establish an Islamic caliphate across the Levant, or the eastern regions of the Middle East, though they are mainly targeting Syria and Iraq. As previously stated, ISIS was formerly a branch of Al-Qaeda located in Iraq, but they broke off after and during the Iraq War, which lasted from 2003 to 2011. Specifically, ISIS is an extremely prominent, powerful terrorist group, whose power has been depicted as transnational jihad, since ISIS is a Muslim group and claims that their attacks are justified through the Islamic doctrine of jihad. Aside from its overall power, ISIS is fairly mysterious. No one knows exactly how much power they possess. For example, there are questions about how many weapons and people they're willing to fight with, as well as the continuous question of their plans for more attacks.
The motive behind ISIS, and by extent ISIL's attack on the site, seemed to stem from other attacks on other sites, and explanations for those attacks, which they are quoted in saying, "Whenever we take control of a piece of land, we remove the symbols of polytheism and spread monotheism in it. They are largely against archaeology, seeing many archaeological sites, especially those of polytheistic and idealistic values and ideas, as wrong, and therefore destroy remnants of those societies. In an effort to protect the site from further ISIL attacks, unearthed relics and artifacts were moved. However, some were too heavy to move at the time. When military camps were also placed on top of the city, they bulldozed much of the land, unearthing more relics and artifacts, which were destroyed. Participants in these efforts included heritage experts and Kurdistan Regional Government Directorate of Archaeology. The state of Khorsabad today is in terrible condition. As shown in the first photo, the state of Khorsabad is tragic. Compared to the second photo, it has been destroyed by both military and ISIL movement and attacks, and there is not much left they can do to save it from anything. The land greatly affected by the movement of Kurdish militant forces. It was reportedly looted by ISIL, with one looting tunnel being found since 2015, which is tragic because many artifacts from Khorsabad that were highly significant to research of both the civilization and the city were lost or destroyed in the attacks and what followed.
Khorsabad's loss was fairly significant. As previously mentioned, it was originally the location of royal dwellings and/or temples, meaning that it contained a multitude of important artifacts and intricate statues. Most importantly, it held the Assyrian king list, which obviously was the list of kings of the Assyrian Empire from circa 1700 BCE to the mid-11th century BCE. Also destroyed when ISIS attacked were the already meticulously excavated walls and statues. However, the most prominent of the damage was done to the site's winged bull statues. As you can see, these statues had the body of a bull and the face of a human, with feathery wings. The sheer number at which these statues appeared throughout the site makes scientists question their significance, though not much is known about them. As seen on previous slides, they were cut and sawed at by ISIS operatives, destroying thousands of years of rock and craftsmanship.